This is November 15th, 2010. This is Courtney Engel, and you're watching Streamlining Social Media, Episode 4. In the news today, we have Facebook's new messaging system. And basically, they've rolled out a few new changes. You could see the entire video if you go to facebook.com/Facebook They've also claimed the short link service fb.com. So if you were to type in fb.com, that will take you over to Facebook's website. The additional changes that were implied today are dealing with an email messaging system. Facebook's goal is that whether you are chatting through Instant Messenger and sending text messages through a mobile phone or talking to somebody through Facebook's email client, that it doesn't matter what they're using, you can communicate to them in any of those methods and vice versa. So if somebody is in a Facebook message chat with you and they walk away from their computer, that it can just seamlessly go over to their mobile phone and or to their email inbox and let them reply from whichever place. The idea is that it would store all of this information and keep it threaded. Let's take a look at Facebook's video to see how that would work.
A little over a year ago, we started looking at ways to improve our Facebook Messages product. And we realized pretty quickly that the problems that we face are actually bigger than just Facebook. A lot of sharing should be simpler than it is. When I want to reach out to my cousin Danny, I have to use text message because he just graduated high school and that's all he really uses. My grandmother, she only uses email. I can't send her a Facebook message and expect her to get back to me. I'm keeping this lookup table in my head of how to reach out to each person. Why isn't this easier? Why don't all these technologies work together? All you should need to send someone a message is the person and the message, and that's it. People should share however they want to share. And if they want to connect via email, they should be able to do that. So we're giving every user of Facebook the option of getting an @facebook.com email address. This product isn't email, but it allows people who do use email to connect with the rest of us. We've modeled this entire system after chat. There's no subject lines, there's no CC, there's no BCC. When you press the enter key, it sends your message right away in real time. We want this to feel like a conversation among friends, and when you come back to your computer or your phone, you should be able to pick up right where you left off. It's always seemed like a problem to me that when I look at my email, occasionally I see a message from my mother sandwiched between a bank statement and a bill. We should be able to do better than that. So we created the social inbox. When you log into Facebook and look at your messages, all you're going to see by default are messages from your friends and their friends, and that's it. Historically, once you give out your email address or phone number, it's just a matter of time before it winds up in the hands of the wrong person. And your only options at that point are to change it or live with a compromise. We believe people should have control over what gets delivered to their inbox, no matter what the medium. And so with the new Facebook messages, if you change your privacy settings such that only friends can send you messages, then we will actually bounce emails that come from anyone who's not your friend. By default, the inbox only shows messages from your friends and their friends. But if your grandmother who only uses email sends you a message and it finds its way into the other folder, you can always promote it into your inbox, and from then on your conversations with her will be front and center. And of course, you can block anyone or any email from sending you messages. Between this and our privacy settings, it's like your own personal do not email list. The most important part of messages is context. Email is organized by subject lines. But when we looked at the subject lines for Facebook messages, the top 3 were no subject, hi, and yo. It's not a great way to organize conversations. We decided to organize conversations around people, not subject. It also made sense to bring together all the different conversations you've ever had with one person into a single thread. Whether those happen in chat or SMS or email, those all now live in one place. If you want to reach out to your friend via text and they want to respond via email, that's possible. If you want to use chat while they're using Facebook messages, that'll work too. And all those different communications will all live in one conversation. Imagine you had the entire history of your conversations with your boyfriend or your girlfriend. I mean, everything from, hey, you want to get coffee later, all the way to, you've got to pick up the kids tonight at soccer practice. My grandmother had that. It was a box of letters written by my grandfather from when they were dating. That kind of thing is increasingly rare, and I'm left to ask, where is my box of letters? It's locked up on a phone, it's locked up in email, it's not in one place. Until now.
Question then becomes, do we want Facebook to have our box? Do we want to trust them with our box of information? Good question to ask, and as yet to be decided how I feel about the new Facebook integrations, but worth testing it out. Also in the news today we have Tunngle going pro. Tunngle.me is a neat little calendaring service that you can integrate. It will compare against what you have in your Facebook events area, and it will also look at your Google Calendar, or if you've got Google Apps domain, it will check against that. You can also synchronize it with other calendar options as well, but the area that is new in this feature is that instead of it advertising Tunngle.me in the top address area, you will see that it will now, instead of just this Tunngle.me area, it will now show you some additional information that you can set up, basically a branded area so that it doesn't look just the same as before. So check out Tunngle.me's new pro service. FriendPoster also makes the news this week. FriendPoster is a neat social media related poster application. In this one you'll see that you can get a poster that shows you all of your Facebook friends or all of your Tumblr friends. They are promising to add on Twitter, Flickr, Foursquare, and more. So if you want to decorate the walls with posters of those that are your friends or fans, you could get a custom-made poster from socialprintshop.com. Kind of an interesting service. Not sure that I'd paper my house with it, but yeah, interesting. Also in the news we see PPT Plex, or PowerPoint Plex. This is put out by Microsoft Office, and what's kind of interesting about this is it allows you to create a PowerPoint presentation that is not in a linear fashion. Let's take a look at a quick preview video from the Microsoft Office folks. So the idea of using PPT Plex is pretty interesting. It looks to me like it is a similar version of what I'm using right now, which is Prezi.com. Prezi is a web-based application as opposed to software-based, so I'm not using something that requires me to open up PowerPoint to create the video that you now see. However, it looks like Microsoft Office is trying to answer that idea with what they're doing inside of PPT Plex. Could be a hint of more things yet to come in future editions of PowerPoint. So check out PPT Plex as you can. Also in the news, we have some news from WordPresscom. WordPress.com is separate from WordPress.org. Again, WordPress.com is free. Whatever domain name you set up there will say yourdomain.wordpress.com, unless you pay for them to do some exclusive hosting. Most people use the WordPress.org on their own servers. That to say, WordPress has come out with something that they are aggregating together posts of a common topic. Right now they're limiting it to specifically any blog that is on WordPress.com that is blogging about food. It could be a particular blog post. The entire blog does not necessarily need to do this. So the first example that they have given us is Food Press. I tend to think this is because, based on what I see Matt Mullenweg, the founder of WordPress, posting, he definitely comes across as a foodie. So foodpress.com is the first of such aggregated sites from WordPress.com. They're aggregating together all of the blogs across WordPress.com and sharing specific information that's related to what people are blogging about right now. It looks pretty interesting as far as finding something to read. What I'm concerned with, though, is the SEO value. So you see that when I click on one of the links, it will take me out to that particular post on that person's site. They're promising in the future to also include WordPress.org content here as well, but the area again of concern is understanding whether or not the SEO value, or the search engine value, is going to draw people into the foodpress.com site, or if it will direct them over to the specific post of the actual user where they got this from. So it's interesting, but again, I'm going to hold off on saying sign up and use anything or really pay a lot of attention to it until we find out what the SEO value is going to do. So to see an example, that's foodpress.com, and I'm sure WordPress.com will be pulling more together soon. Also in the news, we have a band called Girl Talk that is releasing their entire new album online. What's interesting about this is not so much necessarily the music. I'm not so familiar with the band. However, what is pretty fascinating is this is a band that has brought their entire music straight to their website, available for download. The entire music industry is really changing based upon what's happening in the Web 2.0 social media world and how content is delivered. Most bands are making more of their money on touring and on merchandise than they are on actual sales of their music. So this band has chosen, among a few others, to release their music entirely for free. This is one that's gaining a lot of notoriety in the tech circles, at least, so pay attention and see that the music scene is starting to change. Visit your favorite band's actual websites, not just their Facebook pages, or if they're still in MySpace, on their MySpace pages. Check out their actual website. You never know what you might find there. Also in the news, we have some information regarding a self-hosted WordPress site. So, more WordPress news. Over the weekend, I was reading a few blog posts by Joost de Valk. Joost is one of the developers for WordPress. He's created a lot of great plugins and runs a really good blog about just different things that he's testing out and ways to optimize WordPress, and great information that's there. So over the weekend, Joost installed a plugin for testing purposes primarily called WordPress SEO Plugin, and Joost's conclusion is that this is a plugin that is listed entirely as spam. The main reason that he's feeling this way is that as you're reading through this article, you'll discover that the administrator account, not necessarily the username admin, but anyone that has an administrator level account, their login information and password gets passed along to the creator of this plugin. Also with this, you'll see that there's other information that gets put in that's more spammy. It is a bit of a link scheme, meaning you get backlinks in a certain order, and it's basically violating what Google says to do as far as doing an authentic linking at each other type of a situation. So this is a plugin definitely to avoid, but there are other ones as well. Just note that it might be better for those that are WordPress-based consultants to install this plugin on, obviously not this plugin in particular, but install plugins on a practice or a test site before going live with it on your own site, unless you check around with those that have already used it first. So avoid it otherwise. I'll be curious to see if the WordPress.org extensions area begins to get moderated because of this spam one. We'll see what goes on in that area. But similar to that same idea of this is a plugin that you want to avoid, do not use the WordPress SEO plugin. There are 14 tips that have come out on Internet Business Mastery. I listen to their podcast often. 14 tips that they are starting a series on regarding how to keep your WordPress installation safe and more secure. So they give you the tips for the day-to-day, and that is install WordPress into a root directory, so you don't want it sitting in your primary directory. Change where your index.php is. Protect your includes folder and your admin folder permissions, and upload and activate security-based plugins. There are 3 that they recommend highly. The Login Lockdown plugin, WPDB Backup, which is a database backup. It will back up all of your information and email it off to, for instance, your Gmail. There is a security scan and a malwatch. So both of these things are great plugins, again, just to include into your WordPress installed site to keep your site secure. So when installing plugins, look around for other plugins that are reviewed by those that seem to be reputable. I would definitely trust the Internet Business Mastery guys. They have a fantastic podcast. And I would also check and see what the core developers are using inside of WordPress. So that is the first 5, but you can follow along in the rest of their blog series to get some more tips from them on other WordPress sites, that WordPress plugins that you may want to include, and steps